game last night in Detroit that had implications in the NFC. The Lions offense powered Detroit in a must-win game for both them and Dallas. Jahmyr Gibbs rushed for 3 touchdowns, with David Montgomery adding one of his own in a 44-30 victory. Amon-Ra St. Brown also recorded 6 catches for 92 yards despite an ankle injury. Detroit's odds to make the playoffs improved from 43% before the game to 56% with the win. The Cowboys allowed more than 40 points for the 3rd time this season, tying a franchise record. That pushed Dallas' playoff chances to just 8%. Entering Thursday, the Cowboys had an 18% chance to reach the postseason. All right, joining us right now is our NFL analyst, Mina Kimes. And Mina, I want to talk about the Cowboys right now. Dallas still a chance to make the playoffs. However, what do you see their playoff fate being down the line?
Yeah, it's going to be tricky for them to get in because with this loss, they've now lost the head-to-head to Detroit. They've also have head-to-head disadvantages against the Bears and Panthers, 2 teams fighting to get into the playoff. The Bears not even fighting, right? They're in pole position. So it's going to be really tricky for Dallas, even if they win out. And it is plausible that they win out. You look at that slate of games, it's not the toughest one. I will say the Chargers in Week 16 is one to monitor as being potentially tricky because I think that Chargers defense is one of the few in the NFL that's capable of handling this Dallas passing attack that was, of course, hampered last night by the loss of CeeDee Lamb. But this is a bad loss. It's probably damning for the playoff fortunes. Stranger things have happened, but I am skeptical.
All right, let's bring in our NFL reporter, Jeff Darlington. And Jeff, the Cowboys have another major issue. CeeDee Lamb exited last night's game early with a concussion. What's the latest you have on CeeDee Lamb?
Well, we've got 2 major injuries from this deal, and we'll start with CeeDee Lamb because it was very clear when he went down that this was a significant concussion. Immediately taken out of the game and not able to return. He will enter into concussion protocol, and we know with these things it is impossible to put any type of a timeline on this, but we can at least note from past precedent when you see a player go down like this and have that kind of a moment where it is clear immediately that he did suffer the concussion, certainly the team is going to play this as conservatively as possible. Perhaps even more long-term was the injury suffered by safety Brian Branch, one of the key players on the Lions defense, suffers a torn Achilles. Now he'll obviously undergo further testing, but already the Lions know that we are talking about a long-term Achilles injury. So the Lions will have to proceed without their star safety with what is obviously a very significant injury at a very significant time for the Lions.
Yeah, Branch started in all 12 appearances this season, logging 75 tackles, 9 passes defended, and 5 QB hits. So definitely a big loss for that Lions team. Mina, I want to bring it back to you. Patrick Mahomes and the team.
All right, locker room. We all just watched that game and we saw how it played out. I don't know where I am right now with me. You know what I mean? I'm. It's a hard thing to ever say I'm upset because I believe, or I'm upset because I fell for something that gave me hope. You see the dilemma? Let me try to pull out. As Cameron makes us say, I guess I should say Paul was there. The game tonight. You guys, I'm sure everybody saw it. Cowboys lost that game 44-30. That was interesting because I thought the Cowboys put up 30 points and on the road, remember we talked about the struggles they have on the road, but putting up 30 points is pretty good. But Detroit put up 44. Made a huge difference when they put up 44. Because the Cowboys couldn't keep up with that offense without having a CeeDee Lamb. And I think that's where we start this conversation. It's not about the score being 44-30. Honestly, this conversation tomorrow will be about a lot of things. Like the Cowboys put themselves in this bind by waiting so long to at least show up. And now they've shown up on offense in some games, and in some games show up on defense. And then in some games, they show up on both at different times. But the bind the Cowboys had put themselves in meant they had to show up all the time from here on out. And though CeeDee Lamb had over 100 yards and was having a hell of a game, he didn't show up the second half because of a concussion. A lot of that Cowboys offense with CeeDee Lamb didn't show up the first half because of Detroit. And that offensive line, who gave up 5 sacks, didn't show up like they needed to. And the offense in a whole, who gave up 3 turnovers, didn't show up like they needed to. So this is exactly what I was worried about. When they were playing teams like the Philadelphia Eagles, teams like the Kansas City Chiefs, they felt a certain need, an urgency to rise up and be their best them. And then they come into a place where Detroit was banged up, and they did not show up as their best them. And ever, in any case that you hope you'll have a champion, champions gotta show up. And I don't mind you're not showing up your best. I need you always showing up with your best effort. Some days shit are just shit. It ain't going right. And you may not win and it may not work out. But the one thing that you must control is how hard you play all the time. And I don't think the Cowboys control that tonight. Detroit was in panic mode. The Cowboys were in pat on the back mode. Everybody has been patting them on the back. Good job, y'all doing it, we doing it. I'm included and I'm guilty. Wow, Detroit was in, oh shit, life on the line, do or die, we have to do it right now. And you saw the difference in that game. It wasn't about skill. It was about perspective. And Detroit's perspective was death before defeat. Because if you have defeat, it is death. Cowboys didn't read it that way. That's why they're tasting defeat. And one thing Jimmy would always do, like when we got on a roll like that, Jimmy became harder. I didn't want to bring it up, but I should have. And I wondered if Sharpe could see this, and does he do that? I know everything feels good. You just beat current champs and you're beating perennial champs. Everybody feels like, we got it. But that's when you have to put your foot down. Just take care of all the small mistakes. And I'm not opposed to this. I'm a little disappointed for what I saw. Because I believe the Cowboys could have beat that team. If they had CeeDee Lamb, yeah. But even without CeeDee Lamb, CeeDee Lamb got hurt going for a pass. Would have been a hell of a